welcome to week 2 of the hip challenge. This is the sequence for lengthening. So we're going to do 3 poses, 2 of which are going to just work on the outer hips, just so that we can balance out some of the strengthening work that we've been doing, and then 1 will focus on the external rotators. So in terms of props, all you really need is a wall or maybe the back of a high chair or something that you can just kind of press upon. So we're going to start at the wall, and we're going to start with an IT band stretch. So this really gets into the outer part of the thigh, but also really into the outer part of the hip. So the IT band kind of originates in this muscle called the tensor fasciae lata, and it's one of the key muscles responsible for kind of abducting the thigh. So I'm going to start with my back to you so you can see what we're up to. So I start with your right hand on the wall, and you're standing about an arm's distance from the wall. And from here, I want you to step your left foot behind you. So it's quite a decent sized step, so you might even step the right foot out a little bit. And then from here, I just want you to lean your weight kind of into the left hip, right? So the right knee just gently bends forward. So you imagine sometimes you stand with your hands on your hips and you thrust your hips out to the side. And that's kind of what we're doing here. But we're just pressing the hand into the wall so you can kind of lean into it and really then lean some weight into that left side. So you'll start to feel a stretch or an opening really in this outer part of the hip. But as you do, then just notice where that sensation travels. Just notice what's going on all the way down the outside of the thigh as well. So everything's really quite well connected here. And we're just going to take a handful of breaths, nice slow deep breaths. We'll take 1 more. And then just press yourself away from the wall, bring the left leg forward, turn around, and press the left hand into the wall. Good. So from here we're going to step this right leg behind us. Okay, so it's always the leg that's to the outside. So again, you might just step the left leg out, just so that you're increasing the space between the 2 feet, which allows you to get a little bit more lean in. Okay, and then from here, just bring the weight onto your right foot and thrust that right hip out. You see the front knee just naturally bends. You know, you're just kind of hanging out here. But again, notice what's going on in this outer right hip, the muscles that work on the hip. And just notice if there's a bit more intensity on one side than the other. You kind of really notice, like I like to kind of point out these little imbalances. So it's very obvious that the stretch is there, that the opening is there, but really just bring your awareness to what's happening. Really become attuned to the different muscles that are working, lengthening, where that sensation travels to. And take 2 more breaths here. Good, okay, and then you can press yourself away from the wall, step the right leg forward, and from here come to all fours. We're going to move into a half plank. So from all fours, you can walk your hands a little further forward, your knees a little further back. Okay, and then from this kind of semi-half plank position, I want you to walk your right hand about a good hand's length forward. So the right wrist crease is in line with the left fingertips. Okay, and from here you can tuck your toes under and step the left foot halfway forward and turn the left foot out. Okay, from here straighten the right leg and then roll onto the outer edge of that right foot. Okay, sounds a bit weird, a little bit contorted. Then you can bring your left hand onto your hip. Okay, so from here, as you exhale, I want you just to lower the right hip towards the mat, keeping the right arm straight. So because the hand is ahead of the shoulder, okay, we're okay to kind of release the hip down, keeping the arm straight. If it was directly underneath the shoulder, there'd be a little bit too much unpleasantness going on there. Okay, so again, we're just feeling some length down the outside of the hip. Here, this time into the waist. And then I want you to start pressing into the outer edge of the right foot. We're going to press through this front heel. Take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, press up through the heel and lift the hips. So you're driving up through that bottom hip in particular. Okay, and then exhale, release down. Take a couple of breaths again, just encourage that hip to sink. You might bring it to the mat, that might intensify things, it might slacken off. So you just adjust in relation to what your body's feeling. Good, and then again, pressing through the outer edge of the foot, through the front heel. Exhale, drive the hips up. Good, and one last time. Exhale, hip down. Start to feel the length really through the waist into the outer hip. Deep breath in. And exhale, drive up. Good, hold for breath. Good, and then bring your left hand to the mat. And come back to all fours. We're going to go on the other side. Okay, so again, in that kind of half plank length, we're taking the left hand forward. I want you to step your right foot forward and turn the foot out. Good, so your left toes are tucked under. Straighten the left leg, roll onto the outside edge of that left foot, and then bring the right hand to the hip. Good, this is a supported side plank position. So as you exhale, just gently release the hip down. Notice what's going on this side. Definitely more intense for me on this side. So smile. Okay, inhale, and as you exhale, drive down and press the hips up. Good. Exhale, release the hip down. Again, just notice the length through that waist, so we're not sinking into the shoulder, really pressing through the hand, lifting up, just to get the length down the side. Belly breath in, drive through that right heel, press the hips up. And one more time, exhale, release the hip down. And deep breath in. Exhale, drive down to lift up. Good, then take your right hand to the mat and come back to all fours. And from here, come to seated position into Baddha Konasana, so cobbler's pose with the soles of your feet together. So we're going to finish with a version of pigeon, okay? And pigeon sometimes, to some people, makes them a little bit weary, but this is a really interesting way of getting into pigeon, which I think makes it definitely a lot more accessible to more people, okay? If you're still finding that this doesn't work for you, isn't working for you, then eye of the needle really is your best bet, okay? So eye of the needle, again, is when you're lying on your back, right foot crosses the left knee, we're pressing the thigh out, pressing the right ankle into the knee, and then you can start to press this right knee back into your hand. But we're going to try pigeon pose. We're going to start in Baddha Konasana. Okay, so this is an interesting starting position. So the soles of your feet are together, your knees are out wide. We're not staying here for long. What I'd like you to do is just kind of lean into your right butt cheek, press your right hand into the floor, and you can bring the sole of your left foot to the mat. So it's a bit like you're hanging out, right? And then we're just going to get a little bit precise. So I want you to bring this right thigh in so that it lines up with the long edge of the mat. So I'm using this vertical mat here. And then your lower leg lines up with the short edge of the mat. Okay, so you have this 90-degree bend at the right knee and the right foot is flexed. So from here you can lean the left knee in and then just take it so that the lower left leg lines up with the long edge of the mat and this left thigh lines up with the short edge of the mat. So again, we've got 90-90s, okay? This is also known as a 90-90 position, and flex the left foot. So in this version of pigeon, your hips will never be level, okay? The pelvis will never be level, sorry. And that's fine, and that's as it will be. You'll always have a gap really underneath this left butt cheek unless your hips are really kind of loose, and that's not a good thing. Okay, so from here, take your left forearm and place it on the mat in front of you. So if this is a little bit too much, you can always come onto your left hand, but if you can, come onto the left forearm. Okay, so you might start to feel something now, you might not, okay? And we're going to start pressing through the left forearm to lift the chest, okay? So we want height at the front of the body. We're not collapsing into this one, we're really pressing up. And then I'd like to start pressing the outside edge of your right foot into the mat. So you're pressing down, and then you're doing the same, you're pressing down through the outside edge of your right lower leg. And now you should start to feel stuff happening in your kind of outer posterior, okay? So your outer glutes, your external rotators going on here. So as you inhale, lift up through the chest, keep pressing down through the outside edge of that foot and that lower leg. Now, if you're happy here, stay here. If you want a little bit more intensification, you can come into a more classic pigeon position from here. Okay, so I'm just changing positions for the camera angle. So from here, you can extend the left leg behind you, tuck the toes under, straighten the leg, turn the thigh bone in, and then untuck the toes. Okay, so now you're in that more classic pigeon position, but I still want you to press down through the forearm and through the outer edge of that right foot and lower leg. Okay, so this is an active stretch of pigeon. We're lengthening muscles, but we're also working them. We're also just bringing a little bit of condition to them. We're going to take 2 more breaths here. Good, okay, and then on inhale, press yourselves up and come back to seated position. We're back into Baddha Konasana with the soles of our feet together. And then we're going on the other side. Okay, so just lean over to the left, bring the sole of the right foot to the mat, so we're just kind of hanging out. Again, being a bit precise, so that left thigh lines up with the long edge of the mat, this mat. This lower leg is parallel with the short edge of the mat. Flex the foot. Just roll that right knee in, press it back until the lower leg is parallel with the long edge of the mat, and this thigh is parallel with the short edge of the mat. Again, our hips are not level, and it might feel quite different on this side. Again, you might feel more restricted. I know I do. You might not. Okay, from here, right forearm comes to the mat. Left hand can press into the floor. Start to press through the forearm to lift the chest. Nice kind of elegant position. And then start pressing down through the outside edge of the left foot. So you're pressing down through here, and you're starting to press down through the outside edge of this lower leg. So this lower leg is pressing into the mat, and as it does, it's activating the external rotators in your left glute. So again, just bring your attention to them. What's going on there? Don't worry about the stretch. Don't worry about getting a stretch. Just bring your awareness to what's happening and where it's happening and what it feels like. So again, if you want to intensify this, you can straighten the right leg. Yeah, that's fine. Straightening it out, tucking the toes, turning the thigh bone in. So you turn the thigh bone in here and then release the leg. But you're still continuing to press down through the forearm and through the foot and the lower leg. 2 more breaths. Good, okay, and then inhale, press yourselves up. Roll back to a seated position. And that is the lengthening sequence for week 2's hip challenge. Thanks very much, guys. Stick at it, and we'll see you soon.